Hi, today's lesson is about slope-intercept form, and the objective is how do we write and graph linear equations in slope-intercept forms. Alright, so it says an equation is written in slope-intercept form as y equals mx plus b. X is any x coordinate on the graph line, and y is any y coordinate on the graph line. M represents the slope, and B represents the y-intercept. Y-intercepts are the starting point of the graph linear equation. They also represent one-time or flat fees, as the y-intercept is a single point. There's other names that you'll hear for y-intercepts, especially when you're doing word problems. You'll hear starting point, initial fee, starting cost. All of them represents the y-intercept. Basically, y, which is represented by b. If you think of the word begin, begin starts with the letter B, so B is where you begin. So B is equated to y-intercept, and when you have to start graphing a line, you start with the y-intercept. So B is where you begin, B is the y-intercept. So we're going to do some examples based on y equals mx plus b. So for this one, it says write an equation of a line with a slope of 3. So we got the slope, oops, do that again. Slope represents m. So I'm going to put m, which is 3. And a y-intercept is b of 5. So if you know the equation of a line, y equals mx plus b, then we just plug in our m and we plug in our b. So we got y equals, and m is 3, x plus 5. And that's our equation of a line based on the slope that's given and the y-intercept. Okay, next one. With a word problem, it says a cell phone service provider charged 10 cents per minute plus a flat fee of $5 each month. Write a linear equation to represent the situation. So we have to find our m, we have to find our b. So the first thing is, it says a cell phone service provider charges 10 cents per minute plus a flat fee of $5 each month. So the per minute, so 10 cents per minute, so that means that we have 10 cents that is for each minute. So this is going to be our m right here, 10 cents. And then plus a flat fee. You see that word flat fee? Remember in the beginning when I said that flat fee, starting points, initial cost represents our y-intercept. So y-intercept is represented by the letter b. So that will be that'll be 5. Alright, so now again we write our y equals mx plus b, and we plug in our information. So y equals our slope, which is 10 cents per minute. This would be x, plus the flat fee, which is our y-intercept, our starting point, of $5. I'll just put the dollar signs there and box it. So that's our equation for this problem. Okay, so now we have a graph with the line with the 2 points, and they want us to find the slope. So when it comes to writing the equation of a line, we need the slope, which is m, and we need the y-intercept, which is b. So in this case, we need to find the slope. And this one says delta y over delta x. So when it comes to a graph, we're doing that rise over run to find our slope. So our rise, so basically, how do we get from this point to this point? So we went 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 down. I'm going to put m over here. M equals, we went 4 down, which is our rise. And then we went, make sure I put it, 1, 2. So we went 2 to the right, which is going to be positive. So that means when we simplify it, it's going to be negative 2. Or negative, I'll put negative 2 over 1. That is our slope. So the next one says find our y-intercept from the graph. Y-intercept, that means where the line crosses the y-axis. So if I'm going to put it in another color, put that in green, our y-axis is there. This is where it intersects the y-axis. The line hits the graph, the y-axis. So then this is 3. So our y-intercept is 0, 3, or 3. So now they say substitute the slope and the y-intercept. So y-intercept, I had that in green, and I'm going to put the other one in purple because we found our slope using purple, into a linear equation in slope-intercept form. So that is, I'm going to change that to blue, y equals mx plus b. So then the y and the x will stay as is, plus the equal, and I'll put the plus, and I'm just going to fill in the m and the b. So start off with the slope. Our slope was 2, negative 2, or in this case I'm simplifying, so I'll put negative 2, and our b was 3, and I'll put that in green. And there is our equation of a line based on us finding the slope on the graph and finding the y-intercept also on the graph. So that's how you would do it if you are working with a graph. All right, so now this is how to graph an equation from slope-intercept form. So first you plot the y, then you use the slope to rise and run to plot additional points, draw a line connecting the points, and of course you draw your arrows and then you label. So I'm going to extend this. Okay, so we have our example, y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 1. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find it's already in y equal mx plus b form. So I'm going to write that so that way you know that this is related to this equation. So that means our m, which is our slope, is going to be negative 2 over 3. That's going to give us a direction from when we start with our y-intercept. So our b, which is the y-intercept, is positive 1. I'm just going to put the positive 1 because that way you know that you need to be on the positive side of the y-axis. Alright, so we've got the two information we need. So now B is where we begin. We're going to start with this one first. So 1 right here. This is also the same as 0, 1, 1. And then we're going to use our slope to give us our direction, both up and down. So this says negative 2. That's mean negative 2 down, and then 3 to the right, because it's positive. So 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. That's our first point. Again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And you continue doing that until you cannot plot anymore, and then you go to the other direction. So the opposite of going 2 down and 3 to the right, 3 to the right is 2 up, 1, 2, and 3 to the left. 2 up and 3 to the left. 2 up and 3, 2 up and 3 to the left. Once you have all your points, then you're going to connect them. So you're going to have your line. So I'll use that. There, you got your line. And make sure there's arrowheads on both sides because a line means it's continuing forever and ever. And the last thing you would do is you label your line. Get into the habit of labeling your line because if you work with more than one line, you need to distinguish the two lines from each other. And there you go. That is drawn a line on a graph using your slope and your y-intercept. Right, let's go on to the next. Do a word problem. Let me go back to expanding that and making this smaller. Oh, okay, so I'll make that bigger because we need to see each section. Alrighty, sorry for the going back and forth. So for the word problem, it says, remember the y-intercept represents the starting point. So y-intercept is the b, and the slope, which is our m, represents the rate of change. So that means how far up and how far up or down and then left or right you go from the starting point, which is a y-intercept. So it says the amount of natural sweeteners consumed has increased by an average of 2.6 pounds per year. Write a linear equation to find the average consumption of natural sweeteners in any year after 1989. In the first year, the average consumption was 133 pounds. All right. So there's a lot to take in. We need to know what is our M and what is our B. So the first thing, we look at the numbers. So this one says increase by an average of 2.6 pounds per year. That tells you it's the rate, because for every year 2.6 pound is added on. There's an increase of 2.6. And then it says the first year the average consumption was 133 pounds. So you're starting at that point. We're starting at 1980, at the first year. Let me make sure everyone. So after 1989 was our starting point, so it was 133 pounds. So that is our B. So then this one, since it's a rate of change is the same as slope, so then that is our M. All right, we found our M and we found our B. So now we're going to make our use our equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b. And then we just plug in our m and we plug in our b. And then I'm going to do that by using a different color. So our m was 2.6. And then our our y-intercept was 133. So this is our equation. So now we have to graph it. So going back to that, so our m was 2.6 and our b, our y-intercept, was 133 pounds. So we need those two in order to graph this equation of a line. All right, so before we even do that, we need to scale this. So I'm going to scale this. So the m, or for the b, I'm going to make this every 2 units is going to be 100. So 100, then this will be 200, and this is going to be 300 and 400. All right, so now for this one, this is going to be, I'm going to have 1, 2, every 2 units I'm going to count by ones. All right, so now I'm going to plot my point. Start with my B, which is 133. So 133, so if this is 150, so I say 133 is around here. And then I'm going to, my slope is 2.6. And then but 2.6 is the same as 2.6 over 1. So that means I'm going to go 2.6 up and then 1 over. So then it'd be 2.6 and then 1 over. Then maybe another 2.6, 1 over. It's going to be, you just have to eyeball it because, again, the scale is a bit wonky. And it's saying whatever you do with whatever direction you go, if you go opposite, so it'd be 2.6 down and then 1 across to the left, down, and 1. So again, I'm eyeballing it based on, it's not going to be accurate, but at least there's some consistency to show you that what the slope is going to look like. So once you do that, you get enough points, then you draw the line, connecting the dots, and then make sure you have your arrowheads, and then you label your graph. Make sure use another color. Label the graph with the equation that was given, which is y equals 2.6x plus 133. And actually, I'm going to erase. Actually, yeah, I'm going to erase this one. And I'm just going to have my line start at 133 instead of over there. And the reason I'm doing that, because since that was our starting point, I'm going to leave it there. Leave it over here since it's our starting point. So the graph will look like this. Alright, so now going back to the next question, it says find the number of pounds of natural sweeteners consumed by each person in 1999. Alright, so then this is where we're going to use our formula, our equation that we had, which was y equals 2.6x plus 133. Alright, so that means the x represents the year. If we go back, it says 2.6 pounds per year. Alright, so now from 1989 to 1999, so I'm going to put that here, 1989 to 1999, that was a total of 10 years. So that 10 represents x. So we're going to plug it in. So 2.6 times 10 years plus 133. And then we just figure out 26 and 133. And then we add those two, and we should get 159. So this 159 pounds that was consumed in 1999. So again, using your equation and using all that information I gave you, you're able to find the information you need based on using the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, and let me just expand that so that way you can see overall. Maybe tiny, but again, when you're dealing with word problems, remember the slope is represented by the rate of change. So if you see average, rate of change, again, you'll know that it's a slope. And y represents the starting point. So they're saying that 1989 is the year that's the starting point, and I gave you the value, which was 133 pounds. So that's where you start, and then you use your slope, rate of change, to find the direction to get to the next point, to the next point, the next point, and again find your line. All right, let's see next one. Oh, so yeah, so that is everything about slope-intercept form. So I'm just going to do a recap. So slope-intercept form, when you hear the word slope-intercept form, that means y equals mx plus b, because you have the slope and the intercept, and it's in its format, which is its standard form. So y equals mx plus b. You're going to hear that a lot. And y and x represents the coordinate on the graph. That's your x. So this one would be your x comma y, your points that you plot. Your slope is the rate of change, represented by m, and your b is your y-intercept. B is where you begin. So when it comes to plotting to plot the points, to create a line on a graph, you start with your B and you use your M to figure out your direction, up or down, and left or right. And there's many ways to represent Y-intercept. It's called starting point, initial fee, starting cost, one time, flat fee. That tells you, okay, that's your starting point. And again, if they tell you right away it's slope or Y-intercept, you know Y-intercept is B, slope is M, and you just plug in those two information into the Y equals mx plus B equation, and you have your equation of a line. And again, pay attention to, when it comes to word problems, little clues that tells you if it's the rate of change, which is a slope, or the Y-intercept. And when it comes to the graph, if they don't give you the slope, but you do have a graph, you use rise over run to find your slope. You find out where the graph hits the y-axis. That tells you your y-intercept. Remember, it's not the x, it's the y-intercept, where the line hits the y-axis, and then use those two information to give you your equation. Right. So that concludes the slope-intercept form. And if there's any questions, you know that you can email me for more clarification. All right, this is the end, and have a good day.